Uh, what elements of the performance in Philly and most of the game in case Milwaukee are sustainable game after game?
I think, our ball movement, being able to stay organized offensively, generate the right types of shots. And I think that the challenge is, though, defensively, can we, sustain our effort and our concentration, our communication a little bit longer? Had some really good stretch. Fourth quarter, I thought we did a terrific job the other night. By no means perfect, but we just had that cover mentality and made plays, made just enough plays to come away with the win. But I think overall, I think 41% in the fourth, it's a huge thing for us, our fourth quarter defense.
When connectivity in the past, your team is connected really on the defensive end of the ball. What is it doing that? What is that?
I think part of it is the urgency and the communication, but then the third layer is just the cover mentality, multiple effort, where it's not always going to be clean and perfect. There are going to be breakdowns that happens, but guys are just in sync and they're trying to cover for one another. I think that's important because it's easy to game plan for a play, but what happens after the play breaks down? Can contain the ball? Yeah, that'd be perfect. But now what happens when that guy gets beat? Is there going to be a guy in the right coverage spot to protect him? And then the play after that. So it's just, can you outlast the offense and keep making plays when necessary?
You talked about defensively, trying to take away 3-point attempts and getting teams in mid-range and shoot contested mid-range jumpers. The shot profile kind of reflects what you want. They're not taking very many threes, they're taking a lot of mid-range jumpers.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, you kind of say trust the process, trust the principle, but over time, that'll reflect.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. It's not just limiting the threes, but also the efficiency as far as which teams shoot them. We've done a decent job of limiting the corners. Forcing teams into the mid-range sounds ideal. Obviously, we all know Chris Paul thrives in that area. So I've seen him beat teams in the playoffs that way. So I think it's overall a good strategy. Not something you can necessarily go into every night and say, hey, we're going to live with that. But in general, the aggregate of 82 games, absolutely. I think it's important to kind of dictate the shots we want. We have to do a better job of, our rim presence. And some of that's it's not just blocking shots, but our positional defense, using the rule of vert, taking charges. I think all those things can help, but get that number down, that efficiency number down for, those paint points.
What's the responsibility for a big man if you're trying to defend Chris Paul? Obviously, that's not their first guy that they're guarding, but he seems to do a great job of baiting big men.
Yeah, I mean, he's a surgeon when it comes to pick and rolls, and he's seen every coverage. If you try to blitz him, if you try to trap him, switching defense, if you're down the floor, he's seen it all. So I think it's just one of those areas where it's a volume component of their game. Can you give him different looks? You steal a possession here and there. If you give him a steady diet of anything, he'll carve you up. He's very efficient in that area, and he's going to make the right play more often than not. I think the challenge for the bigs is, the communication component, communicating early, dictating, where we want to send him if we can. The smalls, getting into the ball, not hitting and dying on screens, and just that element of pursuit, I think is important. So I think it's two or three things that, go into that. It's not always on the big, but bottom line is we have to throw different looks at him so he just doesn't live in an area of comfort.
Suns rank so highly offensively, and what kind of stands out about them as a team and how they play, why they have so much success?
Well, I mean, that's why they're the best team in the league right now. I mean, they've got a lot of weapons. They can play inside out. The pick and roll is a huge piece of that. But the volume of shooting, they do a great job of spacing the floor correctly. Good to great mentality. They get off of it at the right time. They move and share the ball. Not a lot of holes in their offense or defense. And they've got positional size. And I think there's a mental piece. I think they do a great job of preparing, their group, and guys are locked in the game plan. You don't seem to see a lot of coverage mistakes.
How was BB doing?
He looked great. He was a full participant today. So I think they'll just reevaluate him this afternoon and see how he responds. But it was great to see him out there.
How is Brad progressing?
There's a reduction in the swelling. I think he's feeling somewhat better, but still take a week to continue to rehab and reevaluate him next week.
Just to clarify, tacked on to the games beyond Monday game or
What is today?
yes, same timeline.
Yeah, same timeline. I don't even know what today is. Today is Friday. Yes.
All right. Now the better question is, what the heck month is it?
February. I got
Here
that.
is it.
I got it.
We asked you the last couple of weeks about Rui and Kyle lineup. What kind of potential do you see from that trio? Could they be like go-to defensive?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I talked about it, and it's one of those things that you don't really know it until you do it out there and it happened. And those guys did a terrific job with it. But the positional size and the versatility gives you to switch and keep guys in front. They've all shown at times been able to stay in front of quick guards to guard pick and rolls. And I think whether it's late game or a chunk of the second half is a good opportunity to throw it out there. It's a different look and different feel for what we normally do, but I think there's merit to it.
When you figure out lineups and rotations, you know there's been this process. Sometimes you start with the trio. You say, okay, well, I like that combination. I'm going to build off that. Or is it you think of it in terms of 5 players?
Well, no, it's more of the 5. And I think part of it too is the rhythm component. A lot of guys, it's a rhythm game. They want to kind of feel that they're going to play the same stretch, the same time, every night. And it's not always going to work out that way. Fouls or matchups, things we like and don't like. But most guys like to know or have a general sense that they're going to come in the game at a certain point. So you have to be mindful of that and not adjust things, too dramatically. But some nights it's just more of a matchup that, if they're going to have this guy out there, then we're going to want to try and stay matched up accordingly as much as possible. But in general, I think there's certain kind of routines that guys like, and it makes sense keeping those guys to that as much as we can.
Sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Last game, I think Spencer played first inning of about 9.5 to 10 minutes. Is that something that you'll continue, or was that matchup based?
No, it wasn't matchup based. I think it was just more the flow. We got started a little slow offensively, but I liked where he was and how he was playing at that time. That's the other piece is the game dictates. You like a certain lineup, a certain matchup, you just keep going with it.
I'm sure you watched plenty of film of Rui just to get a sense of his game. But since he's played how many games, is there anything you've noticed that seems new to you, or maybe he's added to his game defensively or offensively?
No, you know what? His ability to play off the bounce a little bit. I think he's more comfortable in the post. We've talked about him shooting a 3, but being able to play make, attack off the dribble, I think is another element that I hadn't seen a ton of, but it's good to see.
All right, Coach, let's head over to Zoom for some questions. We'll start with Kareem.
Wes, just a quick one. I couldn't really hear the question. I think you were talking about, gave an update on Thomas. Did you say went through practice pretty much day to day, reevaluate tomorrow?
He did go through practice. He's a full participant, and we'll wait to see how he shakes out this afternoon. But hopefully, he'll be available.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I just couldn't hear that well. Thank you.
Neil.
Hey, Coach, I'm kind of just curious how much 5-on-5 that you guys do kind of this part of the season, and maybe, how much scrimmage time that you guys got in today.
It kind of depends, the compression of games, but these type of windows, we had 2 days in between. We were able to do some, live stuff today, which is great. But in general, you're not doing a ton of it, and even if it is kind of live, it's usually half court but so it all kind of depends on, the game schedule and how much guys have played. We'll kind of determine how much we do. You have to kind of steal these moments when you can, because that's where you can build on some of the slippage areas and clean up some things in a live setting. It's one thing to drill it, but to feel it full court or feel it, 5-on-5, I think is important.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach. Oh, wait, last second question here from Wayne. Wayne, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I had to mute. Hey, coach, was curious when you look back at that film from the Sixers game, in particular the fourth quarter. What were some of the things that stood out to you that you were proud of?
Just our effort. I thought we, really keyed in on guys. I thought we were very active. We talked about it this morning. We showed a little film. Just the shrink mentality, the urgency to get to guys, the urgency to help. I thought we were pretty locked into trying to get the ball out of Joel's hands and make life difficult. And the ball bounced our way at times, but that's part of it. I think a lot of times if you do things with aggression or you fly around, good things happen.
And lastly, coach, one game at a time. You have a 5-game homestand. What are some of the things when you try to establish a rhythm that you can do when you have such a long homestand as you have coming up?
Well, I think part of it is building on the other night. That'd be great. Obviously, we have some tough opponents coming in, so it's easy to say, hey, we're going to just run it back and do the exact same thing. This is a different beast. This team is the best in the league for a reason. But can we find a way to at least compete at a certain level, like we saw in the second half of the other night in Philly?
Thank you, coach.
And last question to Christos.
Hey, Coach, how are you today? Coach, that game against the Sixers, the bounce back against the Sixers, what it means? How big was that for you?
Well, I hope it's a momentum changer. I thought we played Milwaukee relatively well until the last 4.5 minutes. Offensively, we had some lulls, but we were able to climb back into that game after being down 17. So on the second night of a back-to-back against another quality opponent, we gave ourselves a chance. It came down to, last 2 possessions, but, that's a great sign to see that we were able to bounce back mentally. Physically, we responded, carried the game plan into the game and able to execute it.
And also speaking about Kyle Kuzma's season so far, what did you see about his progress into a leadership role in the team? The level of maturity that he plays on both ends of the floor?
Well, he's the guy we talked about. I mean, he's won a championship. He's played in big moments. So I think he's very comfortable, in his role and understanding. He's obviously made big plays for us on both sides of the ball. But the leadership component is, part of his, maturation as well. He's kind of pulling Rui, Denny, and those young guys, kind of helping, them mature and bringing them along. I think that's a big part of it. Take a guy under your wing and show them the ropes and, give them some insight, but, breathe life and confidence into them is important. I think it helps lighten the mood as well. And those guys kind of respond to him. So I think it's great.
Thank you very much, Coach.
All right, Coach, all set. Thank you for your time.
First of all, what was that game the other night like for you? Had to go up against Joel Embiid and how I think it was 1 of 6 to start the game.
It was good. But just to really just be back out on the floor, being able to come out and just play with the team and stuff. It felt real good. But the main thing was just being locked in and paying attention to details on the things that he wanted, and just pretty much in general how he plays and stuff. He is real aggressive, shoots over the top of you. He backs you down. He bangs in the post. He does a little bit of everything. So really just locking in and try to make sure I stay out of foul trouble early, and just, like I said, pay attention to detail and really just come out and just not back down really. Because, he's going whenever he touches the rock and, he gets downhill, he's going to get whatever he wants in the paint. It's just up to me to really just try my best to stop that.
What stands out to you about the Phoenix Suns?
Phoenix Suns, the win streak that they're on right now. They're coming in with a hot hand. They got a lot of momentum. I've been seeing, the things that they do. They do a lot of great things on the floor. So really just coming in and just paying attention to detail, like I've always said. With a team like this, you got Chris Paul, you got Devin Booker, you got guys like that out there on the floor that'll really facilitate and scoring and doing everything that they can to help their team win. So really just coming in and just locking in to the personnel for sure, because they're not going to come in and just back down. They're going to come in and try to punch us in the face first.
Is being a center, what's it like playing in a defense against Chris Paul, knowing that, basically I'm sure everyone's got to pay attention?
He's really crafty. You know, you never know what you're going to get with him, especially if he's coming off of a pick and roll. You know, you can get an easy pocket pass. You can get his signature mid-range, or, you know, he's attacking the basket and dishing it out for a three. So main thing is we just have to make sure we stop the momentum of getting downhill off of a screen. Just make sure we stop the ball. And also make sure, you know, Aiden setting the screen and stuff. You know, we can't let him get behind us on the road because Chris Paul, like I said, he's a facilitator. He's going to find open guys. If he doesn't hit Aiden, somebody's going to help him. He's going to hit the corner. Plain and simple. You know, just like I said, really locking into the facilitating part of him. You know, make him beat us on his jump shots. That's pretty much it.
Speaking of the mid-range, it seems like it's kind of by design for you guys to take away the three and try to get players into the mid-range and test those shots. How do you guys make sure that that's effective? Because it seems like your opponents, most of the shots they're taking are in the mid-range, but obviously the defense overall.
I say, yeah, it's really important, you know, because the three can be a real dangerous part of the game, especially when guys are hot. So really just making sure we get guys off the three-point line and bringing them inside the three and making them making plays on the inside out. That's the thing that we want, because we can scramble, we can play the defense that we want, and we can put guys in a position to where we can either turn the ball over or have them force a bad shot.
Yeah. How have you dealt with the uncertainty of recently, starting all season and then not playing or not starting?
It's a bit back and forth. You know, it's a lot of frustration. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, you know, I want to do whatever it takes to help the team succeed. So, I mean, if you guys have seen me on the sideline frustrated from time to time, that's on me. You know, I apologize, and pretty sure it's an embarrassment for the organization and the players too. So on my end, I'm for sure working on not being frustrated and just, you know, coming out and enjoying the game, whether I'm on the floor or not. But the uncertainty, I mean, I really don't dwell on that because, you know, my time is going to come again. Whenever my number is called, I'm going to be ready for sure. So whoever's out there on the floor, I always, you know, motivate guys, and I'm always behind whoever's out there on the floor before me. That's the main thing. And I'm still learning, you know. My main thing, like I said, is not to really, I would say, be frustrated because, I mean, you know, sometimes changes have to be made.
There's some support system, or who's kind of been like the biggest supporters?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The whole team, you know. You know, from Coach Wes to the last guy on the bench. They always are in my ear, letting me know. I mean, it's not going to last forever. You know, we're still trying to figure stuff out, which I understand. You know, I'm just on the bench over there trying to give as much support as I possibly can for the team, give them the energy that they need off the bench to win, for sure.
And when you do come out in the game like you did last game, starting again, you try and tell yourself not to overdo it, just to make up for the game that you didn't play? Or...
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just come out and play the same way I was playing before, we made this change. You know, it sucked that TB had to go out on an injury with his ankle. You know, it was real tough to see him go down. But coming out and just being able to pick up where he left off was the biggest thing for me. You know, coming out and playing the same way that I was playing before I had got put on the bench, and that's just the main thing in general.
All right, Gaff, let's switch over to Zoom. We'll start with a question from Neil.
Hey, Gaff, I'm curious, when you're on the bench and potentially, not playing in certain minutes, how much conversation do you have with TB or Trez to, just kind of bounce ideas off of each other live during the game?
It's from time to time. I really just let guys kind of, cool down when they come off from the floor, for sure, because I know it sometimes can be frustration coming off the floor. I've done it. And I know guys 9 times out of 10 are either frustrated with the refs or frustrated with shots not falling, frustrated in general. So I let guys cool off most of the time. And if, there's something that if I have to put my 2 cents in on anything, I go up and I try to give them as best advice as I can. But at the end of the day, it's guys that they have a couple of more years under their belt than me. So I'm pretty much just going over, really just trying to learn from them more than them learning from me, if that makes sense.
And I know we've asked you before about, trying to avoid foul trouble, trying to avoid those ticky-tack calls. Has there been anything, I think in Philly you got, called for a couple that you're a little upset about. Mm-hmm. Has there been any recurring thing that you're trying to be like, okay, this is definitely something that, I get caught with too often, whether that you've picked up on or the coaching staff or anybody?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I dial in most of the time, especially when I'm on the sideline or after the game, for sure, to just figure out ways and figure out, the positions that I'm in on ways to prevent those fouls, for sure. So I'm still learning as day in and day out to really just figure out how to stay on the floor with at least, the least 2 fouls. instead of coming off the floor with like 4 fouls before, quarter ends and certain things like that. So really just, like I say all the time, is just paying attention to detail to myself also, how I move my feet, the position that I'm in, what I give up to guys, and what I can take away from the opponent as well. So the main thing is just learning from myself in that general area.
Thanks, Gaff.
Over to Christos.
Hey, Gaff, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Gaff, what did you learn in the last 6-game stretch for your team?
No matter how many people that we are down, or no matter how many people that are on the bench that were usually playing at first and that are not, I mean, we still have, the depth and the talent, and just the grit, really, just to come out and fight. It's times where I've seen where we came out at the beginning, we fought, and we came out at the beginning and we didn't fight, and then we brought it back up before, the second quarter even started. Little things like that. And I always just pay attention to how, the effort is on the floor, for sure. Because if you don't give effort in this league, you're going to get killed at the end of the day.
And obviously the game against the Sixers, the win against the Sixers, was a great confidence booster for you guys after a 5-game losing streak. And what would you like to build on that victory, on that effort overall?
Just really building on the fight, not backing down, and no matter how good a team is, and no matter, what an opponent is going through either, we just have to come out and we just have to play. We just can't come out and just lay down for anybody. We can't come out and back down from a challenge. We have to come out night in, night out, 110% on the floor, 110% effort. If shots aren't falling, it's okay. Go for the next play. If we don't get a block, if we get a foul, it's okay. Don't get frustrated about it. Just keep playing basketball. At the end of the day, it's all about the outcome at the end of the game.
Thank you very much, Gav.
All right, and last couple questions to Chris.
Hey, Gaff. You played football in high school before you went to college, and with the Super Bowl next week, I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
Leading up to that.
Okay.
Joe Burrow said he could play in the NBA. He thinks if he wanted to make a career change, he could get to that point as a 3-and-D wing. What do you think that ramp up period would be like for someone who has played in football shape to get to basketball shape?
I don't know. I think it would be different, especially because it's like I don't know if football conditioning and basketball conditioning is different. I really don't. I would say pay attention to it as well. It's been a long time since I played football. I played football my 9th grade year of high school and stopped afterward because I couldn't catch it. I couldn't catch a cold. They had me out there on a wide receiver, the tallest guy out there, and I had the worst hands on the field. But in general, I would say the conditioning part. My transition from football to basketball, it was tough because I was coming in from the football season right into our conditioning period. So it was rough for me. But, there's a lot of guys out here that are really built different. If he says he can do it, hey, all props to him.
Gotcha. And then do you have any rooting interest in the game next week?
Say again?
Do you have any rooting interest in the game next week? Are you for the Rams, for the Bengals, or just want to see a good game?
I'm for the Bengals. Just because of the simple fact, I got a friend that's been a fan ever since he was yay high to a horsefly. And every time I get on the game with him or have a conversation with him, he always talks about the Bengals and how long he's been waiting for this moment. So I'm really happy for him. So I'm gonna go for the Bengals. But I'm a bit 50-50 because I want to see Odell get a ring also.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.